my name is Emma Hinson, and today my speech is over the effects of stress. If you're in the audience, please raise your hand. Stress is defined as a physical, mental, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension. It is the body's reaction to a challenge or demand. Stress is a serious aspect to many people which can cause problems such as illness, both physical and mental, and can change a person's life as the outcome. This chart shows the effects of stress on the body and which parts it affects the most. Studies have found that many physical illnesses are directly related to stress. According to J. Winter, MD, stress seems to worsen or increase the risk of conditions like obesity, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, gastrointestinal problems, and asthma. It can directly increase heart rate and blood flow and cause the release of cholesterol and triglycerides in the blood. Sudden emotional stress can be a trigger for serious heart attacks. In other illnesses such as asthma, studies have shown that if a parent is chronically stressed during pregnancy, it increases the risk of asthma in the child. For people with pre-existing conditions, for example, type 2 diabetes, stress directly raises glucose levels. Stress can take it even further and accelerate aging, worsen brain lesions associated with Alzheimer's, and can increase the risk of premature death up to 63% in extreme cases. This goes to prove that stress is not just a feeling, it is a built-in physiological response to what your body perceives as a threat. This graph shows the lifetime prevalence rates of people affected by stress that leads to certain mental illnesses. It mainly affects females more than it does men, and major depressive disorder is the biggest effect it causes on people. Along with physical illness, stress is a great factor in today's world of mental illness. Long-term stress increases the risk of mental health problems such as anxiety and depression, substance abuse problems, sleep problems, pain, and bodily complaints such as muscle tension. Scientists found that the earliest response to stress happens in the brain within seconds of perceiving a stressor. Chemicals which signal between nerve cells are released. These include serotonin and adrenaline. Following this, stress hormones are released, which particularly affect areas of the brain key for memory and regulating emotions. Repeated stress changes how well these systems are able to control the stress response. Recent studies have shown that long-term stress can change the structure of the brain, especially in the areas supporting learning and memory. It can affect both nerve cells, which is gray matter, and the connections between them, which is white matter. It is possible these changes, along with other factors, can increase the likelihood of developing mental illness. The effects of stress on mental health is also directly related to the effects on physical health. The link between stress and mental health is the immune system. During the stress response, the immune system is activated, helping to keep us safe. But chronic stress and prolonged activation of the immune system can negatively affect how the brain functions. This flowchart is representing how a stressor can lead to many problems and how you can help it in the end. Everyone has different stress triggers. Work stress tops the list according to surveys. 40% of U.S. workers admit to experiencing office stress, and 1/4 say work is the biggest source of stress in their lives. Sometimes the stress comes from inside rather than outside. You can stress yourself out by just worrying about things. Your stress levels will differ based on your personality and how you respond to the situations. Some people let everything roll off their body. It doesn't affect them. To them, work stresses and life stresses are just minor bumps in the road. Others literally worry themselves sick. When people have chronic stress, it leads to the issues mentioned earlier. As an outcome, people's lives can change, sometimes drastically. In smaller cases, after a big change, such as a new job, stress can make you sick for the following days. In bigger cases, people who already suffer from mental or physical health can suffer bigger changes such as panic or anxiety attacks, increased heart rate leading to a heart attack, depletion of immune system, and sometimes if said person is already in critical condition, additional stress can lead to death. In the steps that this happens, it starts with a stressor, and next it affects your cognitive systems, memory problems, and poor judgment. This leads to your emotional symptoms, which is general unhappiness and anxiety. Then this leads to depression and isolation. This is where it starts to affect your physical health. This ends up with aches, pains, and nausea. This affects your behavior, eating more, sleeping less, sleeping too much or too less, withdrawing from others, and substance abuse. Getting help can help you. Managing stress is not easy, but it can be done. Keeping a positive attitude, accepting that there are events you can't control, eating healthy, getting enough sleep, and not relying on drugs or substances that are most common tips that help someone who manages stress. Using these may not always completely resolve the stressor, but it can help you bear through times when it is needed. Everyone experiences stress, big or small, and it can affect anyone's physical or mental health and change your life. You are not alone.